Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Ted with some of my esteemed colleagues.
Dave.
I'm Nate.
And today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons monsters, specifically benevolent Fey creatures.
Or not so benevolent.
Or not so benevolent, So, what's your take?
Okay, so the concept for this discussion is the basically the nicer side of the Fae, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're always going to have your best interest in hand. And not only that, come on, they're Fae creatures. They tend to be a little chaotic anyway.
Right.
And they like to have fun. What they consider fun may not be fun to you.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've got your centaurs, your pixies, your fairy dragons,
pseudo-dragons, sprites, trents, dryads, sliffs,
nixies.
sylphs.
Yeah, nixies, pixies.
So lots of stuff that can be used is not going to, oh, I'm out for blood right off the bat. But if it gets to combat, they're certainly, more than willing to draw swords.
If need be. But, obviously, you could do, and I'm pretty sure over the years I've done this encounter where you come across a Fey gathering of the different creatures, and it's basically a wild party.
Right.
Well, the problem with that is, it could very well be a part of the Feywild that you're stepping into, or the realm of fairy, depending on your game and campaign setting. And you could party the night away with them and basically come back, and 100 years have gone by.
Right.
Yeah, there is that rule that you can change the time if you want to.
You come back and it's only been 30 seconds.
Right.
That's one example, and there's a lot of other things too. Like, if you go into a Trent's forest carrying torches and axes, he's going to be disinclined towards you because they don't like torches and they don't like axes. Or there may be a dwarf in the party or a human in the party, and it associates those races with people that cut down trees.
Right.
And that are destructive. Same thing, half orc would be another race.
Right.
They go like, "What are you doing in my forest? Your people, come here, cut down the trees, burn it." Are examples. Or perhaps you need to travel through a territory and it's inhabited by centaurs, while not overly malevolent as a race or woodland creature. They may not want you trespassing either.
They're generally very protective of their borders. They're very prideful. So there's a lot to work with there.
Well, or also you also there's also stories of centaurs kidnapping maidens as well,
Right.
and it's kind of like they do it as like a joke.
Uh-huh.
But it may not be so funny if one of your female companions gets carried off into the forest, by a centaur, and now you have to get them back.
All right, so for you GMs out there, you have a female player that doesn't show up, or if you happen to be that group where the guy is playing a girl and they're not there for the session, there you go.
Centaur carries them off. Although if it is a guy playing a girl in the session, even if they are there, feel free to carry them off. That's a whole nother video. But it's just weird. I don't know. Play what you want to play, but to me it's weird.
So another example would be a gathering of satyrs and nymphs.
Mm-hmm.
Nymphs I know were in previous editions of the Monster Manual. Fifth, I haven't seen them.
We have a dryad.
Yeah.
Close.
So close enough. So you've got different options where it's okay, they might not be happy with you stumbling upon their party or their gathering, and it's a negotiation, situation. Or they might just invite you to party with them.
Or they might. Or, a nymph may find a really attractive male in the group appealing and charm them into staying. And in the previous editions, this was basically right in the Monster Manual in first edition. They would do that, especially if you have a paladin in first
absolutely,
edition. Yep. Who had to have a 17 charisma just to be a paladin.
Yeah.
If you stumbled across a nymph, she was likely to try and collect them like a Pokemon. It just happens like that. In one of my games that was second edition converted to third edition, I had used a sylph and as a more of an NPC than a monster, and one of the characters ended up in a relationship with that NPC,
Yep.
and having a child with that NPC, and then another party came along and one of the players murdered that NPC. So,
And there are supposedly grudges still involved on that particular situation.
yeah, but I think they're blamed at the DM for some reason. I didn't do anything. I was innocent, I tell you.
Now, from the other player's perspective, when I murdered the sylph, was you use the one thing in a campaign, and then let's use that same encounter for another campaign.
It just happens to be an evil campaign, but
Yeah,
That player's just DMist.
that's like walking a cow through a lion's den. You're like, I can't believe they ate my cow.
Well, it happens, man. It happens. Hey, right in the Bible, what's his face in the lions?
Yeah, he got away with it.
Right.
Why couldn't that cow get away with it?
so instead, my orc fighter got to scrape sylph goo off of his spiked armor.
What a mess.
She was really intimidating, right? You just had to kill her.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
I don't even remember the specifics. I just know the outcome was bad. So there's some ideas, and there's some ways that they've actually been used in our game.
If you're traveling through a forest, another fun way is to have pixies doing pranks. It's not enough to actually do any kind of damage, but it could be a cool role playing back and forth of like, okay, well there wasn't something there before, but the players keep tripping, stumbling, they go blind, they can't hear.
I think if you could, like, if there's more powerful pixies or some other kind of thing you just want to make up that's in the Feywild, it could be something that actually can do more of the involved tricks in the actual DMG I was thinking about. So you have like a higher level of...
Oh, absolutely.
Well, and there's a whole progression you go through with this, right? First, it's pixies doing silly things like emptying your wineskins or putting holes in them, or tying your feet together while you sleep because it'll be funny. Making noises.
Changing the color of your hair.
But then, so maybe in frustration and aggravation, one of the players lashes out and hurts or kills one of the pixies. Well, what if you go with, they belong to a Fey court, and they're the lessers, of another being who then becomes interested in what you're doing because you basically in essence slighted them,
right,
by harming one of their subjects. So it can draw you into a bigger campaign, a bigger story arc.
So one combat action can lead to either some serious combat with serious repercussions, or into this whole huge political campaign.
Right, and
Keys and curses.
Oh, absolutely.
That would be a good way to start it
it
off.
could, or it could be you have to now pay Weregild to the
Pixies family.
to the Pixies family in essence, which may not be in the form of gold. It may be in service or undertaking of a quest or something.
Right.
Or maybe you have to figure out how to get the pixie resurrected. Whatever mad scheme you can come up with as a DM, but there's definitely avenues for doing this. Or you could always just go with a storyline where one of these generally benevolent creatures is a bad apple, and you could do the evil sylvan creature, the evil Fey. I mean, there's plenty of evil Fey anyway, but
right.
you could really flip the script and what if something happened in the Trent's history that's just totally made him rotten to the core, or you could start being a little more diabolical and creative, and what if you did have a forest of undead Trents, who've been corrupted for some reason, and then then it's almost
With a
like
lich druid.
like a lich druid. It could almost be like some kind of plague or magical disease or curse that the wider picture isn't necessarily just defeating these Trents that are basically the guardians to a dark druid's grove, but maybe reversing the curse and restoring the land.
And that's actually a really neat idea. But I mean, going along the lines of like the benevolent that's just evil, you could have them start off being very beneficial, spinning that web of deceit by saying, "Oh, let me help you with this thing here, or that thing there. Let me cure a wound here, or whatnot." And as the party begins to actually trust that NPC, it's like, "Oh, well, you're allowing me to cast spells on you. Let me do this. Let me do that." You then start putting more subtle effects into nature, and "Oh, well, can you go and get this thing for me?" So slowly but surely they start going down this darker road to help out what was
Their friend.
their friend,
Their buddy.
and it could turn into, okay, well, you're now making this creature more powerful, and it's going to turn into the villain.
Yeah.
And a great way of doing that too is using generally evil monsters that it starts pitting the players against. But the monsters in this case are actually in the right and haven't done anything. So you're actually, you actually in essence flip the role and become the monster because you've taken on the role of the antagonist to them, because maybe they're just minding their business and you're getting tricked into serving this evil creature that has something that they want.
Yes. So lots and lots of fun options that you can do, with these type of creatures that, by all appearances, have the onset of being on the more positive side of things. But you can definitely use them for dark and nefarious ends.
Yeah, you can. And the other thing too is like you could pick out specific monsters, or specific Fey creatures in this instance. Go to the NPC section of the DMG, and there's like 10 questions that it asks, and you could either randomly roll or pick them, and kind of describe it if you want this to be an NPC in your campaign, if you want it to be more than just a combat encounter, and a reoccurring cast member, as if you will.
And that's the great part about the DMG. It gives you all these charts to be able to add so much more to basically anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, the Monster Manager is going to give you that basic stat block, but, the more interesting encounters are going to come from there. They're going to come from your imagination and your interaction with your players.
Right.
I've gotten a lot of mileage out of the DMG. I've rolled up a whole bunch of NPCs for my for my game with all the newbies, and it's really good just like to start for inspiration.
Right.
I rolled my major villain, and then I developed an entire campaign around him. Just because I said, well, I'm going to go with what's here, and I happened to just make a lot of sense the way I was thinking about him. So
very cool.
And then in the DMG, there's also the Eladrin, which are pretty much Feywild natives.
Yeah, they're the elves from the Feywild.
Yeah.
Immigrants.
Yeah.
Possibly illegal aliens. We're not sure.
Yeah.
I haven't checked their green card.
I mean, that could be something where one is on the run from either something good or bad that's in the Feywild, and they come there to come to the regular your campaign area because they want to escape, or they're on the run because they're trying to live just because something monstrous is after them. And that could be like a whole scenario just there.
Well, yeah, I mean, suppose one of those characters could be introduced into your campaign as a player or an NPC that could spark a whole Feywild, Fey creature oriented campaign where this guy is being hunted. Maybe he really is a bad guy, and they're the cops coming to bring him to justice. But if you don't know that, all you know is all this weird stuff out of the wild keeps trying to eat you.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you're looking kind of suspicious at every house plant you see.
Are you going to try and eat me?
Of course not.
No, I'm just going to blast you with my mind powers.
No, it's not Dark Sun.
That's right. It's not Dark Sun.
So if you guys have any comments or suggestions that you want to share, put it in the comments below. While you're doing that, click like, share, and subscribe.
Check us out on nerdarchy.com.
You can also join the conversation on our subreddit, Nerdarchy.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy. Dryads, Sliffs,
Nixies.
Sylphs.
Yeah, Nixies, Pixies.
So lots of stuff that can be used is not gonna like, oh, I'm out for blood right off the bat. But if it gets to combat, they're certainly more than willing to draw swords
if need be. But obviously, like you could do, and I'm pretty sure over the years I've done this encounter where you come across a a Fey gathering of the different creatures, and is basically a wild party.
Right.
Well, the problem with that is, it could very well be a part of the Feywild that you're stepping into, or the realm of fairy, depending on your game and campaign setting. And you could party the night away with them and basically come back, and 100 years have gone by.
Right.
Yeah, there is that rule that you can change the time if you want to.
You come back and it's only been 30 seconds.
Right.
That's one example, and there's a lot of other things too. Like, if you go into a Trent's forest carrying torches and axes, he's going to be disinclined towards you because they don't like torches and they don't like axes. Or there may be a dwarf in the party or a human in the party, and it associates those races with people that cut down trees.
Right.
And that are destructive. Same thing, like half orc would be another race.
Right.
They go like, "What are you doing in my forest?"
Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Ted with some of my esteemed colleagues.
Dave.
I'm Nick.
And today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons monsters, specifically benevolent Fey creatures.
Or not so benevolent.
Or not so benevolent, So, what's your take?
Okay, so the concept for this discussion is the basically the nicer side of the Fey, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're always going to have your best interest in hand. And not only that, come on, they're Fey creatures. They tend to be a little chaotic anyway.
Right.
And they like to have fun. What they consider fun may not be fun to you.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've got your centaurs, your pixies, your fairy dragons,
Pseudo-dragons, sprites, trends.